This is 5 on your side at 5. Focused on you.
And so my mom came and was holding my face, and she was saying, don't close your eyes, stay awake, don't go, don't close my eyes at all.
Hours after a Tennessee teen who lost both her legs in a crash testified in court, a jury is deliberating the fate of the man who crashed into her. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred in for Kelly Jackson. A jury has been deliberating for over an hour now in the Daniel Riley trial. They're expected to reach a verdict any time now. Police say Riley sped through a yield sign in February of last year. He collided with another car before hitting Janae Edmondson, who was in town for a volleyball tournament. Riley was supposed to be on house arrest at the time. This week in court, we learned he had fentanyl, THC, and codeine in his blood at the hospital. Right before Janae testified about what happened that night, her mother right here took the stand with very emotional testimony.
I lay down on the ground on my stomach and I lifted her head up because her face was on the ground. And when I pulled her up, I turned her around. And her eyes were so weak, I didn't know if she was going to make it. And I was so scared because I thought she was going to die right there. And I kept telling her, open your eyes, Janae. Keep your eyes open the whole time. I said, don't close your eyes.
Janae's mother says she, her husband, and several strangers used belts and blankets as tourniquets to save her life. Janae has gone through 23 surgeries since the crash.
Our Christine Byers was in the courtroom for that emotional testimony today. She joins us live from outside the Carnahan Courthouse in downtown St. Louis. Christine.
Mike and Ann, Janae and her mother testified this morning for about an hour and a half, putting the exclamation points on the prosecution's case. Janae Edmondson, now 18 years old, wheeled herself into the courtroom today, her amputated legs exposed for the jurors to see. She told them she was walking with her parents in downtown St. Louis on the night of the crash in February of 2023. The sound of an engine roar caught her attention, and she saw Daniel Riley's Audi barreling toward them. She yelled for her father to get back, felt something hit her, and suddenly felt warm. Her father saved her from bleeding to death by using a stranger's belt as a tourniquet on the legs she didn't know she no longer had.
I heard my dad screaming, and he was tying something really tight around my legs. I didn't know what it was, but he was pulling, and I was thinking to myself, why, what's wrong? Why is this so tight around my leg?
The defense took about an hour and a half to present their case, and it was all over before the lunch break. They called 2 officers, an accident reconstruction expert, and the passenger in the other car. Now, the jury has been deliberating now close to 2 hours, and about 15 minutes ago had a question about intent. Live outside of the Carnahan Courthouse, Christine Byers, 5 on your side.
We're going to continue following this developing story. For a link to Janae's full testimony on our YouTube page, just scan the QR code on your screen right now. You can also watch it on the 5+ app and on KSDK.com. And of course, we're going to have much more coverage tonight on 5 on your side at 6 and at 10.
We are in a weather alert right now. Our Weather First team is tracking rain around the St. Louis area. Let's check in with meteorologist Jim Castillo. Is it raining everywhere?
You know, it is now starting to rain everywhere. It's generally light, and we might hear some rumbles of thunder as we get into the overnight hours. I had to turn the lights on there for you. But right now it is mist out there, some areas of fog, and you know that dew point and the temperature are matching, so it's saturated, the air is saturated. And looking down Market Street, it is finally wet in downtown St. Louis. So here we go. Doppler weather radar showing that widespread rain and generally light, but let's zoom into those areas that might have a little bit more that darker shade there. Washington, Missouri to Troy, and even Union and St. Clair, right up Interstate 44 and almost to Wildwood. And then from Warrenton to Hawk Point to Troy to Winfield, that rain is pretty good and steady. A couple lightning strikes out here, and that gold area that you see right there in the Lake of the Ozarks, that's that heavier rain, but the severe weather is expected to stay to our south and west. This is Kansas through Oklahoma and into Texas. Severe thunderstorm watches are in effect there. So right now, on umbrellas or maybe some rain jackets at about 55 degrees in St. Louis, and east wind at about 14 miles an hour. And just those weather headlines real quickly. Waves of rain, some thunder, severe weather not expected, and rain moves out early Saturday. Much more on how much to expect coming up.
Our Weather First team keeps the forecast updated online. For a link anytime, just text the word weather to 314-425-5355.
Now to some developing news out of South St. Louis. Homicide detectives investigating after 2 people were found dead at a home. The man and woman were found at the home on Christie Avenue just before 11 this morning. That's in the Bevo neighborhood. We still don't know at this hour how they died. Police are not releasing any other information right now. As soon as we know more, we will let you know. One step closer to compensation. Tonight, the U.S. Senate passed a bill that could help victims of radioactive waste in the St. Louis region.
The bill, called the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, will now head to the U.S. House. Our Justina Coronel has been tracking this story all day and is in the newsroom. Justina.
Mike, and U.S. Senator Josh Hawley of Missouri calls this a tremendous victory. He's been spearheading this effort to include the St. Louis region in the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act, also known as RECA. Today, RECA passed the Senate with 69 votes in favor of it. Now, I interviewed Senator Hawley just before he spoke on the Senate floor, and he called this a big vote. Hawley said folks from St. Louis and St. Charles deserve justice after the government poisoned people as they were making the first atomic bomb decades ago. And this bill would compensate victims who've gotten sick from radiation. Now, in the gallery to witness this were local advocates, including the advocacy group Just Moms STL, who've been sounding the alarm for more than 10 years. Now, this bill will head to the House, and Hawley has a message for them.
My message to the House is going to be time is short. This program expires in June. In June, the whole thing goes dark. Nobody gets anything. The thousands of Americans who have relied on it, 40,000 to be exact, who have relied on this program for life-saving help to date, will get nothing.
Just yesterday, President Joe Biden endorsed RECA. He wrote a memo saying, in part, he believes they have an obligation to address toxic exposure.
Today, disability advocates released their first ever report card on Bi-State Development's Metro Transit. The report card gives grades for Metro's Call a Ride service, which provides transportation for people with disabilities. This comes after short staffing caused issues for riders last year. For ADA compliance, advocates gave an F. Meaningful engagement got a D. Customer experience, a D+. Advocates gave an incomplete for keeping promises.
Dealing with Call a Ride is almost like, in Metro, it's almost like you have to negotiate. And it's not where it needs to be. It's not comprehensive, it's not robust, it's not technologically advanced, and the entity itself is not transparent. And our standard is our standard.
In the last hour, Bi-State Development released a statement saying it's working on the issues and is addressing complaints.
A new Missouri